Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know who this be, it's your girl Kyler B coming at you with a new video. So today we're going to do a recap or analysis about the movie After. You know, it's better to be late than not do it at all, okay? So even though this movie came out in April, it recently came on Netflix in October. So, and I watched the movie 3 times since it came out, because I had to be thorough, because with this recap, I have to make sure I have my I's dotted, my T's crossed, about this. I even read the second book, so I know what's going on right now. I finished it, read the second book. It's over. But period. But anyway, let's get right into this video about the movie After, and how when I was watching it, like my commentary, like what I was thinking about it. So let's just get right into this video. Yeah, so when I was watching this movie, I was like, let me watch it, it seems interesting. Like, even the preview made you think it was like a thriller, because how like they have Harden beating up Jace, and then like Harden, like when Noah found out that Tessa wasn't in her room, and then Harden just somehow comes behind her, like not behind her, but like he was just standing off in the background, and there's just like is he a killer? Like, that's so, like, I saw the preview, I'm like, oh, that seems interesting, so I watched it, and I was just like, I literally was just doing my own commentary during the movie. It's like, wow, I should have recorded this. So I'm gonna be talking about my commentary. So the first thing you see is like her packing up, going into, getting ready to go to college and stuff like that. So obviously she doesn't have a car, as it looks of it. She doesn't have her own car, and then Noah drove her and her mom to the dorm, and they got to the dorm, and then you see Steph and Tristan. So the thing about that was like, why would Tristan be like, oh, we can get you in the coolest spots and this and that, and they're vaping right in front of the mother? And I'm just like, wow. I'm just like, you at least couldn't wait till she was gone. But anyway, they had that. There was like the first initial change, that Tristan, that was a guy in the books, is now a girl in the movies. So that was the first change from the books, from in the movie. So, and then also another thing is that they made the mother like not so mean, or how she was in the book. Like, the mother seemed like a reasonable, just the mother who cares about her daughter, like, to be honest, because their daughter's being a freshman, going off to, new school. She's gonna be about her daughter, and there's see people vaping and talking about, we can get you into hottest clubs and whatever, obviously. And she smelled all the smoke or whatever they were doing. Obviously she's gonna be worried. She's gonna be like, let's change rooms. Like, what mom wouldn't not do that? Like, that didn't seem like she was just, it didn't seem like she was going overboard. It just seemed like she was a careful mother. Like, so I didn't really get like any vibe by like, oh, this mom was like unbearable or something like that, how the books would make it seem. And also, they never say Theresa or Teresa, whatever, until, when Harden like messes with her, and when she was in the room, she's like, it's Bronte Theresa. But I'm like, when have they ever even called her Theresa in the movie at all, until Harden says that when she was holding the Wuthering Heights book. But we'll get to that. So she says Theresa, whatever. But they just call her Tessa. So I'm just like, the mom usually calls her Theresa because it's like the proper, her real name. I didn't even know that. Like, so anyway, moving on from that. Today she meets Landon. They're the two early birds. And it was like kind of funny in that scene because it was like, no, you go in, no, you go in, no, you go in, you go in. And then Lana's like, oh, my mom told me that we should let ladies go first. And she's like, okay. And she just cut him off, and she was like, okay. And she just walked into the room, and then after that, they were in class and just had this guy talking, and then it was, I think after that class, that's when she took the shower, and then Hardin's in her room, and she was like, she had her wet clothes, and then Hardin was like, oh, I'm not looking, and then he had this like quotes about the Great Gatsby, like, oh, the perception, like it was all a dream, it was all a lie, and scene to Steph when she was in the library, and Steph was like, come on, let's go to a party, blah blah blah. And then they go to this party, they dressed up, and I feel like Steph was kind of contradictory because it was like at first when she was like, who brings books to college? And she's like, I guess I am. And then she's like, I like it. I like the booky vibe or whatever. I'm just like, you just basically kind of made fun of her indirectly about bringing books, but then you're like, no, I like it. Like, so which one is it? Do you like having people being the booky or nerdy vibe, or are you gonna make fun of it? Then with the dress, like, Steph is like, it's a little too formal, and she's like, when then Tessa was like, you told me to be myself, and then she's like, oh, I love it. I'm just like, which one is it? Is it too formal, or do you love it? Like, stop being contradictory. So anyway, moving on, they go to the frat house. At first I was like, isn't that Hardin's like house? Because I was like, I didn't even know, I didn't catch on that was a frat house. I was just like, what was that? Anywho, so they went to the frat house and they were playing Truth or Dare. And when I first, like my first thoughts, I thought she was like not gonna drink, because it seemed like Tessa was like a strong, independent girl. Like, she wasn't like a person, because obviously she had the boyfriend. She wasn't like the geeky nerd with glasses or whatever that like is very impressionable. Like, I feel like she can hold her own, or like, not being persuaded or being pressured to do what someone else wanted to do. I feel like I got that vibe from her, because like, how there's these cliche movies, how you have this nerdy chick that's like easily persuaded and want to fit in with a crowd and stuff like that, and that's how the movie goes, and then like they fit in with the crowd and then they start being cool and whatnot. But Tessa, it would seem like she can be independent, and like she can do what she wanted to do. But then I saw her, oh, just come on, have a drink, and then she took this bottle and drank. I'm just like, why? They were like, oh, Hardin, she was like, I dare, no, Jace was like, I dare you to kiss Hardin, and then Molly was like telling Hardin, like, get up, go kiss her, blah blah blah. And then she gets up and she's like, I'm done playing this game. And I'm like, I was taken aback, because you know how all these cliche movies is like, oh, they're gonna kiss, and then she's gonna feel there's like sparks fly, metaphorical sparks flying in the air when they finally kiss, blah 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 blah, the geeky girl, the popular bad boy type thing. And then she actually rejected him. So I was like, okay, because in the books it was her coming on to him in the books, at that party, but it's in the movie is the other way around. It's like, I'm done playing this game. I have a boyfriend. Remember, this is basically, I watched the movie before I read the books, okay? So I'm just getting my information. This is basically solely on me watching the movie before the books. So yeah, I was just like, that was kind of weird that, her boyfriend, for her longtime boyfriend since, they were kids, is not the same age as her and not going to the same college as her. But I mean, I guess that makes sense, because how would Tessa and Hardin be together? Cause, So then she goes up to the room, and then it's supposedly Hardin's room, and she finds the Wuthering Heights book, and she was like, what are you doing in my room? And then her claim was, are you drunk? I'm just like, you didn't even answer the question. You just questioned him if he was drunk, and I was like, okay. So then he quotes something oh yeah, he's like, he quotes, whatever our souls are made of. And then I'm just like, you didn't want to kiss him downstairs, but then you almost kissed him upstairs. And she's like, no, I can't. So then they go to class. After that, she runs down the stairs. Molly sees, and she kind of smirks. But she doesn't really see, but like obviously she knows that she's coming from his bedroom or whatever. And then she smirks, and then they go to the Soda's class, and Hardin is happened to be in her Soda's class, and they have this like back and forth between Darcy and Elizabeth Bennet. And he's like, Elizabeth Bennet needs to chill. And I'm just like, okay. I'm just like, okay. So, yeah, that Elizabeth Bennet needs to chill. And they have this, like, intense back and forth scene, which was, like, really interesting. And then Landon's like, that's just Hardin being Hardin. He just wants to get, like, a reaction out of you, blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, you know him? He's like, that's when you actually understand that, they're stepbrothers. Not stepbrothers, but they're gonna be stepbrothers officially later on. And so you found out, like, what's the connection between Landon, Hardin, Tessa, whatever, because now they're all intertwined. So after that, Hardin comes out of class and he's like, oh, that was fun, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, whatever you think this is can't happen or whatever. And he's like, what are you talking about? We were just talking about a book. And then I was just like, and I because he's messing around with her, but you can't really, like, make that assumption because all he really was just talking about the book. So it was kind of funny because she was like, oh, she was reading into it way more than he was, because it was like he was just talking about a book, but then she thought it was like, oh, he's trying to get at me or something like that. And then it was kind of, he was just like, excuse me, like, I'm just talking about a book, and you're thinking that I wanted to be with you or something like that. So then that was funny. Anyhow, they're at the coffee shop. It was like, oh, they want to show you something. And no, she's like, I don't think we can be more than friends. Or I think she said, I think we can keep our distance, and we need to keep our distance. And then he takes us, like, a good step back, and then she chuckles a little bit or laughs a little bit. And then he was like, I want to show you something. And then I'm just like, how did it went from a truth or dare at a party, to in the class going back and forth, and then now all of a sudden I'm gonna jump in a car with you to go to some secret place to show you something, and we're not even really friends. Like, how the movie goes, they're not even really friends. Like, the only thing is that her roommate Steph and him are close friends, so obviously they're gonna see more of each other. So basically that's what he was trying to establish. But anyway, they went to the lake, and he jumps in. He's like, I'm going for a swim. And then he's like, come in. And he was like, I'm only wearing a dress, like, I didn't prepare to go swim in a lake. So he's like, you can wear my shirt. So they swim. She like, I need some privacy. So, like, turn around. She puts on his shirt, and, he's like, I like it better on you. Blah, 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 blah. They jump in the water, and, it was just like, sparks fly. This metaphorically, sparks are flying in the air. It was a scene, because they were in that water in the movie for, like, a good 5 minutes. Like, it was just the water, the lake scene, basically. Just them in the water. Like, the scene where he watches her, like tilt her head back in the water and comes back up, and then I guess that's the moment where he was like, I actually like this girl or whatever, something like that. So I think that was the scene. I mean, I feel like that was, like, the scene about it. So then they get out the water, they kiss, even though she tried her best to not kiss him, even though she has a boyfriend. They finally kiss. So, and then he was basically tracing her body with his hands or whatever, and he puts her hands in her underwear. I'm just like, how does one kiss or whatever leads to, oh, you never been touched before? I'm just like, okay. I'm just like, wow, that happened fast, that happened quickly. So then she's like, why'd you stop? I mean, you could not think of anything else, like the reasons why he should have stopped. And then she's like, we got time. I'm just like, wow. And then after that, they go to Blind Bob's, and they were having fun. Stuff like it seemed like fun, whatever. And then Molly and Zed comes in, and then he gave her her keys to, I guess, I don't know for what, to hold on to, because she didn't start the car, she didn't do anything. It was like, why did you give me your keys? So she gave her the keys, and she just stood by the bar, and then he was like, what was that about? And I guess he was giving out, that was like the scene where he was giving them the details about what happened between them. Because it was basically, in the book, it's a bet, and he basically, in the book, he gave them a lot of details about the things that transpire between, him and her. So, but I guess that's the scene where he's basically giving them the details about what happened with the dare. And I guess, that's what happened. So then she's like, why? You didn't like, you don't want people to see us together or something like that? And he's like, no, that's not that. And then she was like, oh, I'm gonna have to tell No about us. And he's like, us? That just put me back when he said us like that. I'm just like, you guys had a kiss, and you're feeling her up, and then, everyone thinks that, she thought in her mind that they were together, because, we had a kiss, you feeling me up, and then he said, we got time. And then he says, I don't date. What? You, all of that, and you don't date? That's just, anyway, she's like, are you kidding me? I was literally laughing at that, because I'm just like, you really thought. I was like, and I, ooh, because he's like, us? That was so funny to me. I mean, I felt bad for her, but that was funny, because dude was like, I don't date. I don't know what you thought this was, but it's not what you think. So, she basically, it was like, okay. Then Noah comes out of the blue, surprises her with flowers, and then they go to this the bonfire party, and they're playing the suck and blow game. And Jace, I don't know if I feel like he purposely blew the paper off so he can kiss Tessa. And then, like, Noah's sitting right next to her, and Noah's like, nah, bro, you're not gonna kiss my girlfriend right in front of me because of a game. Like, that's where we draw the line. So, anyway, she was like, Noah was like, stop. And then I guess Harden kind of felt, he had to beat up Jace, because he got to get a good punch in to Jace to let him know, like, yo, you're not gonna kiss her, especially when her boyfriend's right there. But I feel like he was already upset because he heard the news about, I feel like he was already upset because he was wearing his hoodie. He felt like he was in his feelings, because I don't know, he felt like he was like, I don't know, because I feel like he already got the news that his mom, not his mom, his father and Kieran were getting married. So then later that night, when, Tessa and Noah were watching movies or whatever, Landon calls her, and he was like, oh, your name popped up and blah blah whatever, and I thought you can come calm down. But obviously it was to his surprise that she even showed up anyway. And he was drinking, and he was like, she's like, I thought you didn't drink. And he's like, I don't. He threw the bottle of whiskey or bourbon or whatever he was drinking on the ground, and then she was trying to clean it up. But I'm just like, you're gonna hold a bunch of glass in your hand, you're not gonna get a dustpan? Like, how smart was that for you to do? So, and then she cut her hand, and then I guess he bandaged it or whatever. And then cut to the scene, they kiss, and then, they kissed and did a little more than kissing. He kissed her stomach and kissed whatever, and then they spent the night together. Then it was just kissing and other stuff, and then spend the night together. But then she forgot, she left her boyfriend back at her dorm. So I'm just like, And then she thought, and the thing about it, like, analysis scene, she doesn't have a car. In the book, she has a white, I think it's a Toyota Camry or something like that. She has a white car. Like, she's been driving her white car. In the movie, she's driving a bicycle. I'm just like, and she has to take a Greyhound to go back home. But we're not there yet. So anyhow, Noah's like, where were you? And then Hardin, I guess, follows her quickly after in his car. Where were you? And she's like, I'm just helping a friend. And then she was about to lie, but then she's like, I gotta tell the truth. And then she sees Hardin in the background, and he's like, what? And then he's like, no, I'm sorry. And then she's like, deuces. Like, he just couldn't have it. So he left her, and then she had her time to think about what she's done. She basically cheated on him, and left him when he came to visit her at college to be with Hardin. So I'm just like, wow, great girlfriend. But then I think a day or two went by, and then Hardin was texting her and whatever, and then that's when she's like, she finally goes to his, I think it was his frat house, because he doesn't live with his dad. So that's like, I was like, where did he even go? And then he finally goes to the frat house to meet Hardin. And she's like, Noah's my best friend, but you're so much more. It's a library scene where they're like, he's reading to her, and then they're like having a good time. And then that's when they ran away from the library officer, which was like, it was a good montage scene. Like, those montage scenes were like probably the best scenes in the movie. Like, they were back at the dorm, and they were like, she was reading or doing something, and he was writing his journal, and that's when they have this little mini fight. It's not really a fight, but little, that type of thing. And then they end up doing stuff, and then she was about to do stuff, and then her mom just barged in the room. She's like, Tessa, I was calling you. And he's like, Noah told me you broke up. Noah told me that you guys broke up. And then Noah told me you guys broke up. She was like, this is what you're doing? This is who you broke up with Noah for? And it was like so funny, because if her mom didn't barge in, she would have caught her in the act. Like, yeah. So, anywho, she's like, can we please talk about this? And he's like, you need to break up with him right now. Blah, blah, blah. They have this, like, fight. And you can actually kind of see where the mom in the book kind of matches the mom in the movie. Because the mom in the movie seems like a regular mom that's just like, but I feel like this one is where you see, like, she kind of being controlling, because she's like, you need to break up with him. But I'm just, because I don't know if they made it officially in the movie. But then she's like, I'm gonna cut you off. So then she doesn't have any funds. Like, you're gonna cut me off from college because I'm not gonna be with the guy that she basically reserved a sign for me since I was like 5 years old. So now I'm gonna be cut off from college because of this. Like, wow. So there's this deleted scene where, like, she goes into the financial office to talk to whatever, but then Ken shows up, and I guess it was to talk about bringing Hardin to the wedding. But before we even get to that part, Landon, like, talks to her. He's just like, it's because of Hardin, like, that you're in this situation, because her mom cut her off because of this. So then she's like, I guess she was waiting for Hardin in the coffee house, and then Hardin pulls up, and he's like, she was like, where were you? And she's like, hop in and I'll show you. So then they go to this loft looking like place, and he's like, this professor is gone throughout the whole year. We can stay here, and I'm just supposed to be watering plants. So I'm just like, you basically made that place your home. Because I'm like, at least because in the book, they actually brought an apartment or brought some place together. But in the movie, it's just like, oh, this is just some professor's house, or, they're out the country, or this, like, and we can stay here throughout the whole year, you know, whatever. So then, you know, they're in the house, and then there's another montage. They're having fun. They're eating Chinese food in the box, reading books together, whatever. I have not said this throughout the whole video, but I'm gonna say this right now because, you know, I've been talking too much about. I'm like giving this whole recap, um, or summary about the video. Like, the thing about this movie, they have not. There's a lot of open dialogue, or like there's like empty dialogue. What I mean to say is like, it's just like, hey, 10 seconds later, hey. It's like the movie, I mean, I understand what the movie is trying to do. I think it's supposed to be with like touch and eye, like the way that the characters look at each other. So it was like everything's in the eyes and the senses, basically. There's a lot of empty dialogue. It's just like, hello, are you gonna say something? It's just like the only time there was a good dialogue session was at the end of the movie when the dare was revealed. There's another montage which was like, so, you know, go back to the summary of this movie. So there was another montage, you know, of them being together, and then I think that was the aquarium scene as well, where she's like, nothing will make me change the way I feel about you, whatever. And then it flashes to the wedding. I mean, it feels like this movie's like up and down, like it doesn't really flow kind of well, because it's just like, you know that they're Ken and Karen are getting married, but it kind of felt weird. So anyway, they're at the wedding, and it was like, oh, you're supposed to be on your best behavior, and blah blah blah. And then he finally tells her about, you know, his nightmares about his mom, and why he has this like pent up anger about his dad, you know, because he was drunk in London, and, you know, some bad stuff happened to his mother, and that's why he doesn't really like his dad like that. He left him and his mom, and now he's marrying Karen. Like, he doesn't have any aggression towards Karen, because, you know, it's not her fault, but that's why he has the aggression towards his father. So he tells Tessa about, you know, his story, and while his dad was like giving like this like toast about him or whatever, like, how he used to recite, you know, lines from books or whatever. You know, they dance, and they finally dance, and they're dancing together and whatever, and then they're like kissing and whatnot, and then they lead to, you know, finally Tessa and Hardin finally does the deed. Like, they finally do it. Like, throughout the whole movie, it was just like, oh, we're kissing, and then they're like kissing each other's bodies, and then, or tracing each other's bodies, whatever, and then this is where they finally do the deed after the wedding. So they finally do the deed, and throughout the whole movie, they never say I love you at all. Like, the only time that you're gonna get this is after they do the deed, the when they were in the tub and they're doing this, like, you know, like this tracing game, and he finally like writes I love you on her back, and she didn't get it. So then he just looked at her, and then they kissed after that scene. So it's just like, in the books they already said I love you, so it's just like, okay. So then after that happened, they had class. The scene where she was reading a book, then her Hardin's phone was like blowing up, and then it was Molly, and she's like, meet me at Blind Bob, blah blah blah. And then she was like, what is this? What do you need to tell me? And what you need to tell me is like, do you trust me? She's like, yeah, I trust you. So then that's okay. That should be enough. So they go out, and then he didn't call back. It felt like he was gone for days, because like, girl was in a t-shirt and shorts, then she changed into another outfit, and then she's like in this jumpsuit, you know, this jumper and a t-shirt, and then she gets a text from Jace, is like, oh, I'll tell you where Hardin is. So then she goes meet Jace in Hardin's car, and she's like, why are you in Hardin's car, blah blah blah. Goes into Blind Bob's. Then you see Steph, Zed, and Molly sitting, and then, you know, she has this like look at Molly. She's like, and then Molly just looks at her. She doesn't even say nothing. And then Steph is like, hey, I haven't seen you since you moved out. And then she like tells them like, oh yeah, me and Hardin are living together, blah blah blah. And he's like, then Hardin and Jace comes in, and then she's like, hey Hardin, hey Jace. So she didn't say nothing to Tessa, but then she acknowledges like the existence of Hardin and Jace. So then after that, he shows the video. He's like, I'm gonna make her fall in love with me, and then I'm gonna snap my fingers and turn it off. And then she, she's right. Like, she looks at them and she's like, "So you knew?" And she was like, "Is this true?" And I'm just like, it kind of feels like they're all guilty by association, because Steph knew, Zed knew, they all knew, but they didn't tell her nothing. They just let her do that. So it's just like, wow, some friends. So, Zed was like, no. And then Hardin was like, Molly, shut up. That's like that. I read that line in the book, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the same line from the book. So I actually made that correlation. And yeah, because he said Molly, shut up. He didn't say Molly, don't. It was Zed that said Molly, don't. But she didn't care. She was just like, And then she was like, it was all a game. So, wow. And then she runs out, and he was like, it was like this dialogue that you kind of knew. You kind of you could have filled in the blanks for them, because she was like, I thought you loved me. Quote, like, that's the fill in the blank, because they never actually said love in the video, in the movie. It was just basically
that was all before.
So, and then she was like, no.
Before I snapped your fingers when you turned it off.
And then she's like, I thought nothing would change the way I feel about you, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I guess we're both flyers, blah, blah, blah. And she runs away in the rain. No car, nothing. But in the book, she was talking to Zed. Zed was giving her the 411 about what happened. But now she found her way to pack her stuff, or pack whatever she needs, get on a Greyhound bus or whatever bus, go back home to talk to her mom. So basically the movie was supposed to end with the book right there where she finds out. And they have this like little thing, back and forth. But this is where After We Collided comes into place, where she goes talks to her mom. She's like, I love you, Mom. And she's like, I'm sorry. No, she's like, I'm sorry, Mom, and I love you, whatever. And then in the book, she actually tells her mom the details about what happened, with her and Hardin. Her mom's like, oh, he's not what I thought he was, or whatever. And then in the book, she actually talks to Noah as well. But then she goes to Noah's high school, or the high school that they went to, and talks to Noah, and then Noah's like, why are you back? And he's like, oh, I just needed to, and then she's like, I just needed to be back, blah, blah, blah. But in the book, she actually tells Noah the details as well about what happened between her and Hardin. So it's just like, okay. So then, they're back to being friends again. And there was this one line in the book that I remember where Noah was like, where she says like, oh, it's hard when you love someone and they don't love you back. And that's basically Noah, where he loves Tessa, but Tessa doesn't love, Noah back like that. So it was just like, I remember that quote, and, that dialogue didn't go, into the movie. So then, I guess 2 weeks passed by, whatever, and then she's doing her class, she's ignoring Steph, Molly, and Zed, because there's some fake friends. Like, truly, everyone who reads the books or read the books knows that there's some really fake friends. I mean, Zed is supposed to be her love interest, or not really love interest, but the third triangle, the tier to the triangle, but, that's not going to be happening in the movies. But, yeah, so, the weeks pass by, hang out with Landon, whatever, and then the end of the semester, Soda gives her this paper. She's like, I think this is more for you than for me. And it's from Hardin. Then she's talking to Landon, and Landon's like, what's that? And he's like, a secret. She's like, a secret place, blah, blah. Then she meets Hardin at the lake, and Hardin comes find her. I guess there was just some secret code message into the paper that was given. And, they just sat down at the lake, and they just look at each other, and that was the end of the movie. And I'm just like, wow. So the thing about that, and they already kind of gave the first, I guess, first 10 chapters of After We Collided in the ending of the movie, because in After We Collided, it was like, her talking to Zed about what happened. She had to get through, the rest of the semester, and she was living in a hotel because she couldn't live back, and she didn't want to go back to the apartment, and she was either staying with her mom during the time, and then she went to Seattle. Oh yeah, I forgot the whole thing about the Vans. She actually typed. That's where they talk about Vans, where typed to Kimberly. Kimberly was like, "Oh yeah, great." I didn't even notice that Anna Todd was the person coming out of the Vans office when in the first movie. I was just like, okay. I just saw her go to the building, basically showing that she got the internship or whatever, and she actually got the job. But in the book, it was like she didn't talk to Hardin. Obviously, they showed that she didn't talk to Hardin. But in the book, it wasn't like, oh, they come meet at a lake and now they resolve all their issues. It was like Hardin called. I mean, obviously he called her in the movie, but Hardin called her like every day in the book, basically just trying to beg her to come back to him. Blah blah blah. And that was an after we collided, and it was winter break. Since now they finished with the semester in the first movie, I guess they're gonna pick back off on the winter break, where when Hardin's mom comes to town. There was no talk in the first movie how they were supposed to go to London, because they were supposed to actually go to London, but then to meet the mom, but that didn't happen. So his mom came here, and he came to the apartment, because the apartment that Hardin so-called has in the movie or in the book is that there is actually the apartment that him and Tessa have together. In the movie, it's this professor's home or little loft that they're basically living in for the time being. I'm just like, okay. But anyway, that's just basically my recap about the movie. Also, yeah, my like final touches about the movie was like there's a lot of empty dialogue. There's a lot of things missing. I'm gonna talk about what I think my plans for the rest of the movie in another video. I just feel like there's a lot of the thing is there was a lot of empty dialogue, because I just picked that right off the bat, because I was just like, oh, what's with the silence? The their reveal scene was the most interesting part about the movie. I mean, even though there's some other parts about the movie that was interesting too, that was like the most like we need to know what's happening. So, because the movie was just basically romance, the adolescent life about what happens in, with the romance life. So the last part, not really the last part, but the bet reveal scene was basically the most interesting part of the movie. He doesn't have piercings, because in the book he has a lip piercing, an eye piercing, and his hair is kind of like longer than expected. Like it's like the length of, it's like a good. I mean, it's longer than that, because his hair is pretty long in the books. How they described it, like, oh, he pushes back his hair like. I mean, like, obviously, when it was raining, he actually pushed back his hair, because that was, like, actually a thing he does all the time. In the, books, he always pushes back his hair, put his hand through his hair, blah, blah, blah. Like, I read these scenes, and I'm just like, rubbing my temples, because you don't know what I encountered reading these scenes, bro. I encountered a lot of rubbing temple moments. Okay, so as some of you may know, they finished filming the After We Collided movie, or Stars Collide. So I read the second book just in preparation for that when the movie comes out. I'm gonna anything new. Like, I just want to talk about that, because the way the movie ended doesn't really correlate how the book starts or how the after book ended as well. So it's just like, it's kind of like a little weird. So I'm going to be talking about that probably in another video. A video after this might have this as a part 2. So I hope you guys like this recap, this little, I guess, commentary. It wasn't really much of an analysis. Maybe it was. I don't know what you think. But I hope you guys like this. I hope you guys like the video. If you like the video, comment down below. Give me your thoughts, opinions. Let me know what you want to see next. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. You know, also I link my social medias down below, so follow me on those things, my Twitter, my Instagram. So anyway, thank you guys for watching this video, and peace.